Jaya Gopi Janavallabham Girivaradham Hari Jaya Gopi Janavallabham Girivaradham Hari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabham Girivaradham Hari Jaya Gopi Janavallabham Girivaradham Hari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanacham Hari Yamunatira Vanacham Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabham Girivaradham Hari Jaya Gopi Janavallabham Girivaradham Hari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanacham Hari Yamunatira Vanatam Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Biham Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Biham Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Biham Hari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Shyama Sundar Radha Shyama Sundar Radhe Jaya Radhe Shyam Radhe Shyam Radhe Shyam Jaya Radhe Shyam Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol. Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudev, Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Vishupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtottara Satta Shishimachila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Jaya Vishupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtottara Satta Shishimachila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki. Jai Shri Rup Shri Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Rasa Raghunath Sar Goswami Prabhu ki. Prem se ko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivadari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopal Gopi Gopinath Cham Kund Radha Kundagiri Govardhana ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki. Shri Mathura Dham ki. Shri Mayapur Dham ki, Shri Jagannathpuri Dham ki, Tulsi Maharani Bhakti Devi ki, Ganga Yamuna Devi ki, Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki, Shri Shri Gunitai ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar ki, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shigra and Chigranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Reading from the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Second chapter. Text number 49. Correct? Dūreṇa hi avaram karma buddhi-yogāt dhanam-jaya buddhau śaranam anviccha kṛpaṇāḥ phala-hetavaḥ dūreṇa hi avaram karma buddhi-yogāt dhanam-jaya buddhau śaranam anviccha kṛpaṇāḥ phala-hetavaḥ dūreṇa hi avaram karma buddhi-yogāt dhanam-jaya buddhau śaranam anviccha kṛpaṇāḥ phala-hetavaḥ.
buddhi-yogāt dhanam-jaya
dūreṇa avaram karma, buddhi-yogāt dhanañ-jaya, buddhi-yogāt dhanam-jaya, buddhau śaranam anviccha, buddhau śaranam, kṛpaṇāḥ phala-hetavaḥ, dūreṇa avaram karma, buddhi-yogāt dhanam-jaya, buddhau śaranam anviccha, kṛpaṇāḥ phala-hetavaḥ,
dūreṇa hi avaram karma, buddhi-yogāt dhanam-jaya, buddhau śaranam anviccha, kṛpaṇāḥ phala-hetavaḥ.
Ladies,
dūreṇa avaram karma, buddhi-yogāt dhanam-jaya, buddhau śaranam, kṛpaṇāḥ phala-hetavaḥ.
dūreṇa, discard it at a long distance. He certainly avaram, abominable karma, activity, buddhi-yogāt, on the strength of Kṛṣṇa consciousness, dhanam-jaya, or conqueror of wealth, buddhau, in such consciousness, śaranam, full surrender, anviccha, try for, kṛpaṇāḥ, misers, phala-hetavaḥ, those desiring fruitive results. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki! Translation. O Dhanañjaya, keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service, and in that consciousness surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their works are misers. Purport. One who has actually come to understand one's constitutional position as an eternal servant of the Lord gives up all engagements save working in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. As already explained, buddhi-yoga means transcendental loving service to the Lord. Such devotional service is a right course of action for the living entity. Only misers desire to enjoy the fruit of their own work just to be further entangled in material bondage. Except for working Kṛṣṇa consciousness, all activities are abominable because they continually bind the worker to the cycle of birth and death. One should therefore never desire to be the cause of work. Everything should be done in Kṛṣṇa consciousness for the satisfaction of Kṛṣṇa. Misers do not know how to utilize the assets of riches which they acquire by good fortune or by hard labor. One should spend all energies working in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, and that will make one's life successful. Like misers, unfortunate persons do not employ their human energy in the service of the Lord. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurannamilitam Yanam Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya-manobhastam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupakadamayam Tadati Sapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutabadagamalan Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sirupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakandvidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dīnabandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastude Tapta Kanchara Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Nama Eva Kevalam Kalau nastyeva Gatiranyata dūreṇa avaram karma buddhi-yogād dhanam-jaya buddhau śaranam anviccha kṛpaṇāḥ phala-hetavaḥ. Kṛṣṇa telling Arjuna to engage in devotional service with intelligence, buddhi. Yoga means to connect with the Supreme Lord, with Kṛṣṇa. So buddhi using one's intelligence. Remembering Kṛṣṇa, then we will get proper intelligence, we will get transcendental intelligence. Kṛṣṇa himself will help. Kṛṣṇa himself will give the intelligence. And then one will be able to give up all materialistic activities. If one is not surrendered to Kṛṣṇa, it is not possible to give up materialistic activities. Specifically here mentioned also abominable activities, sinful activities. So spiritual activities are there, transcendental activities are there, that is engaging in devotional service, bhakti-yoga. And then other persons are there, they may not be sinful, but they're not engaging in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. But they may abide by the rules and regulations of the scriptures. And they may also have some faith in God, and they may give up also some of the result of their activities. They will offer to the Supreme Lord. Karma yoga, they're working mostly with the desire to get the result and to enjoy. But because of their understanding that something should be given to God, so therefore they're dutifully offering something to the Lord also. And then vikarma is there. So activities which are against the injunctions of the scriptures, sinful, abominable activities, like eating meat, drinking, liquor, abominable things. Illicit sex and so on. These are sinful activities. Stealing. So they should be given up. But even as mentioned here, phala-hetavaḥ, that working, but then simply working in order to be able to enjoy the fruits of one's activities. So that also ultimately should be given up. Such persons, they are known as kṛpaṇāḥ, misers. They're just thinking about themselves. Let me have wealth, let me enjoy. That is a miserly person. But the person who is more elevated, a person who is Krishna conscious, he will act for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. And he will also act for the pleasure of the Lord's devotees. And he will also try to help conditioned souls. But foremost, he is engaged in trying to satisfy the Supreme Lord. Especially also by chanting the holy names, the Mahamantra. With loving feelings, nam ruchi, with some taste, for the pleasure of the Lord. And then nama yajna, mahayajna, nama yajna, mahayajna. ये श्री चैतन्य प्रीति आत्म नाम यज्ञ समर्पणम. So we should perform the chanting of the holy names. So it is a great sacrifice. Yuga dharma, the religious activity in the age of Kali, is chanting the holy names. Kali kalmasha nashanam, the kalmash in the age of Kali, the polluted consciousness, the anatas in the heart, unwanted things in the heart, vinashanam, Kali kalmasha nashanam, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Priti Artam. So the Nama Yagya Samarpanam, so I am offering this Nama Yagya, the chanting of the holy names, for the pleasure of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Patita Pavana Nama Nistarayana Radhamaha Radha Krishna Sarupaya Chaitanyaya Namo Namaha. So taking shot of Mahaprabhu, offering obeisance to him, because we need the mercy of Kali Yuga Avatar Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But then we should understand. So, Padit Pavana Nama. So the Krishna Nama is most merciful, delivering the most fallen. Nistarayana Radhamaha. Radha Krishna Sarupaya. Mahamantra is no different from Radha and Krishna. Nam Ruchi, Vaishnav Seva. So we should get the taste for chanting the holy names, remembering Radha Krishna while chanting the holy names, or Krishna Balaram, or Mahaprabhu, or Gonitai, or Gaur Gadadhar. But then also, Vaishnav Seva, we should serve the Vaishnavas, the devotees of the Lord. And then Jiva Doya, we should be merciful to the conditioned souls, those who are non-envious. So that is a Vaishnava, that is a symptom of a Vaishnava. Sarva bhute hiterataha is not just thinking about himself, but is thinking how to please the Lord, is thinking how to serve the Vaishnavas, and is thinking how to help the conditioned souls. that is a Vaishnava. Of course, to be a Vaishnava, to be nicely situated, purified in consciousness, that is not so easy. Easy said, I'm a Vaishnava, I'm a devotee. Better to say, I'm trying to be a Vaishnava, I'm trying to be a devotee. Prabhupada used to say, first try to become a gentleman, sajan, and then you become a Vaishnava. It is not such a cheap thing. But we try to be Vaishnavas, we try to be nicely situated in devotional service, we try to be respectful, we try to advance, we try to help others. So here Prabhupada is writing in the beginning of the purport that that one must come to understand one's constitutional position as an eternal servitor of the Lord. Gives up all engagement save working in Krishna consciousness. If one is not only theoretically understanding but practically realizing his constitutional position, then he will always try to be fully engaged in Krishna consciousness. And then automatically will try to help others also and serve others. So there's jnana and there's vigyan, there's knowledge and then there's realization. So everyone, almost in Bharatvarsha in India, almost everyone knows we are spirit soul. Anyone who believes in God, like even the Christians or Muslims, they will also understand about the existence of the soul and of the Supreme Lord. So that is one thing to know. But then to realize that it is another thing. And that is not so easily achieved. But we should try to realize our constitutional position as a servant of the Lord. So practical realization, ultimately, that is desired. Atma Sakshakar, direct perception of the self. So then automatically one will try to always serve Kṛṣṇa, work for Kṛṣṇa, and then one will not be engaged in any abominable activity. But even though one may be engaged in spiritual life, sometimes due to modes of material nature, due to bad habits, sometimes one may be then engaged in sense gratification, or sometimes even in some abominable activity due to contact with the modes of material nature. But then we have to continuously try to be engaged in devotional service, and then everything will be rectified. So that is also mentioned in the scriptures, and Kṛṣṇa himself is saying in the 9th chapter, Api chet suraracharo bhajante mam ananya-bhak. Ananya-bhak means those who are constantly engaged in devotional service. Api chet, api, still sometimes, so they always engage in spiritual activities, but sometimes sudurachar. So there is a sadachar, proper behavior. And then there is improper behavior, durachar. And then there is sudurachar, very abominable behavior, sinful activity. So that may be there sometimes. So even we can see in the scriptures, Vedic literatures. So one example is there of Bilvamangal Thakur. He was actually a devotee of the Lord. It is mentioned by the previous acharyas also. He had spontaneous love for Kṛṣṇa. And so he was a householder, he was married. But then, somehow, and it is explained due to some previous improper activity from the last life, so he was engaged in devotional service in last life, but at that time also he was engaged in some abominable activity, but then he continued with devotional service, and then of course one day one has to give up the body, and as a result of that, so he was again continuing in the next life as a devotee, and he lived a long life, and so he was engaged in devotional service, but then if I say, well, he was a brahmana, and so he was married, but then again he was attracted to a prostitute. And then he was associating with a prostitute. So that is completely improper. But because still he was having transcendental feelings for the Lord and trying to be engaged in devotional service, then he was actually protected by the Lord and he was safe from this situation. And ultimately then he attained the shelter of Kṛṣṇa in Braj also. So, but first he was attracted to the prostitute and he gave her up. No, that is not good. And then on the way to Vrindavan, still one time he was attracted to one young lady. And then he was following her. But then he also realized his mistake. So when he reached the house of that young lady, who was Brahmani also. So then he asked for the pin, hairpin, and he plucked out his eyes because he understood that the eyes, my eyes are my enemies, attracted to the opposite sex. And in this way lusty feelings are there. And if lusty feelings are there, then sometimes one cannot control. So ultimately he was then protected by Kṛṣṇa and he attained the shelter of Kṛṣṇa in Braj. So one has to be careful and one has to pray to Guru Gauranga Kṛṣṇa for protection, and one has to try to be always engaged in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, in devotional activities for the satisfaction of Kṛṣṇa. And one should not be miserly. So Prabhupada is pointing out in the purport also again and again. So, misers do not know how to utilize the assets of riches, which they acquire by good fortune or by hard labor. And then Prabhupada is writing, one should spend all energies working in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. So even as a devotee, so we have to try to act accordingly, act for the pleasure of the Lord, and then try to also serve the Vaishnavas and be merciful to the conditioned souls. And by acting in this way, then one will be saved from then deviating from the path. It is explained that spiritual life is like a razor's edge. If one is shaving, or the barber is there, is shaving, of course the barber that's his job, shaving the people every day. So they are quite expert. But then still sometimes, but those Mostly the devotees also, they shave themselves. But if one is not careful, then sometimes one can cut oneself, and then blood will be there. Even the barber, he may be expert, but sometimes he will also cut. A little inattention, and then one will cut oneself or others. And then blood is coming there. And so some inconvenience is there. So that is Kṛṣṇa consciousness. One has to be a little careful also. Otherwise, then there will be some difficulty. And momentarily one will be checked in one's progress in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. So therefore also Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended Trinadapi Sunichena Tadorapi Sahishnana Amanina Madanena Kirtaniya Sadahari. That one should be very humble, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be very tolerant, like the trees. So the trees there in the summer, now it is very hot. The last 2 days and the next few days, 47, 48 degrees, very hot. But the tree is standing there. So he has the ability to tolerate. And when it is very cold in the winter, tolerating. When it is very, so much, if there is excessive rain, tolerating. So we have to be humble, we have to be tolerant. Not expect honor, but give all honors to others. All respect to others. And if one is doing that, then one can chant the holy names, the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then one can make one's life successful. So especially we should take care that we can chant the holy names nicely. So chanting the holy names is actually very easy. But at the same time, chanting the holy names is also not so easy. Because the material mind is there, material consciousness is there, the ego is there, which is preventing us to be attentive while chanting, preventing us to be devotional while chanting, to be thoughtful, to be positively, also consciously aware of the Lord and trying to be engaged in the Lord's service, so mentally also. So it is not that we simply have to utter the names. That has to be there. We chant the holy names and then we should hear and not think of material things or engaging in material activities or getting some result, material result from the chanting of the holy names or from engaging in devotional service. But it should be there for the pleasure of the Lord. Chanting for the pleasure of the Lord, remembering the Lord. Nama Chintamani Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Pona Shuddha Nitya Mukta Abhinatvam Nami Naminaha. Kṛṣṇa Nama are non-different. Kṛṣṇa Nama is Kṛṣṇa Roop. So Kṛṣṇa's name is Kṛṣṇa's form. So if one is properly chanting the holy names, day after day, month after month, year after year, then one will see Kṛṣṇa while chanting. Kṛṣṇa Roop will be there. Kṛṣṇa Nam is there first and then Kṛṣṇa Roop, Kṛṣṇa's form, and then one sees Kṛṣṇa's qualities, gun, and then Leela, then Kṛṣṇa's pastimes. And then that is the perfection. If while chanting one can see Kṛṣṇa and Kṛṣṇa's associates and Kṛṣṇa's pastimes. But only by constant practice of chanting the holy names nicely by engaging in practical devotional service, by hearing as much as possible about Kṛṣṇa. Then while chanting, eventually one can remember Kṛṣṇa, one can remember Kṛṣṇa's associates, Kṛṣṇa's pastimes. So much so that not only we may remember, but Kṛṣṇa will be revealed, and Kṛṣṇa's pastimes will be revealed. So the different stages are there of chanting the holy names, so one should try to see that one can actually advance. So for that one has to be constantly endeavoring, one has to be sincere, serious. One has to cry out for the mercy of the Lord. An act of devotion also, Prabhupada has explained. One has to try to learn this trick of being able to cry out to Kṛṣṇa, to Mahaprabhu. And that will help one to come to the perfectional stage. So, there's one verse also by one Acharya, buddhi-yoga dan, bhakti-ai, Kṛṣṇanam, smarane, krandane. So that is the wealth of bhakti-yoga. What is that bhakti-yoga? Chanting Kṛṣṇanam, remembering Kṛṣṇa and then crying out also. So, by practice, constant endeavor, and also one has to try to become detached from material activities, as mentioned in this verse. Dūreṇa hi avaram karma. Dur. So, the unwanted activities, avaram karma, they should be far away. In other words, one should become detached from materialistic activities, from material thoughts, and then one can be properly situated. So somehow one has to become attracted, one has to become attached to Kṛṣṇa. Otherwise, almost impossible to become detached or not attracted to material objects, to material activities. So on buddhi-yoga, one has to use one's intelligence on a daily basis. And one has to be thoughtful. So how I can become more engaged in devotional service? How can become more attracted to Kṛṣṇa and detached from this material world? So constant endeavor has to be there and trying to become detached. And then also it is mentioned, lolyam. So eagerness has to be there. Lalasamai. So Prabhupada has also explained act of devotion, and he has told that many times. What is the price to attain Kṛṣṇa consciousness? Lolyam. So one has to be very eager to attain Kṛṣṇa. One has to be eager to be Kṛṣṇa conscious. Kṛṣṇa consciousness means to be conscious of Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa means the person Kṛṣṇa. And Kṛṣṇa is not alone, Kṛṣṇa is there with his associates. So, therefore every day we should take darshan of the deities. We should see the deities in the temple or at the home. We should have an altar also. Then we can see Kṛṣṇa. Then we can have an exchange with Kṛṣṇa. Then we can serve Kṛṣṇa. Then we can surrender to Kṛṣṇa. And then there will be reciprocation. If we are endeavoring, then Kṛṣṇa will help us. Kṛṣṇa will reciprocate. And then we can be successful. Hare Krishna. Any question? Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Krishna Chandra Bhagavan ki. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. Go Premanand.